I've never made a video about an Enstars theory before, but I'll give it a try. Right, so last year we met Nice Arnab Thunder, a new producer type character who was introduced as part of the 4-piece arc, and he was the head of the Thunderbolt Challenge, where a bunch of idols competed in different stages in order to be chosen for special dream units, which promised them a career overseas. Since then, the 4-piece arc has ended, and now we've progressed onto the megasphere arc, which is interesting, to say the least. So this arc basically focuses on the megasphere, which is this giant floating island in the sky. So our ensemble stars are on this island and are completely isolated from the rest of the world since, well, they're in the sky. And they're so high up that regular phone service won't reach them. It's basically an Enstars version of Big Brother, as communal areas are being recorded 24/7, and the only way the ensemble stars can connect with the outside world is through live streams. Now, many fans are weirded out by this new development in the story, and are wondering what could possibly happen next because it's already looking pretty bizarre, which shouldn't be strange considering the fact that this is Enstars, the same story where a character is a cult deity, another has sentient hair, and two of the characters have an implied kill streak. Some might think that this new plot shows that Happy Elements is finally running out of ideas, but I think we're being played. I think that this is something that they have been building up to for a while now, and the proof is Mr. Nice himself. Let's start with some context. So, at the moment, Ensemble Square, the main setting for !era, has established a bit of a monopoly over the idol industry. They've done this by basically colonising Japan by buying out massive plots of land to expand their reach and essentially force all idols to join ES if they want to even dream about having a career as an idol. This has caused a lot of tension among non-ES affiliated idols, especially the ones in Okinawa, as well as the resurgence of Crimson Productions, a dodgy idol agency that came back to life due to some idols not wanting to join ES. So, after the !era came to a close, the story was set up in a way that led us to expect a conflict surrounding ES's monopolising behaviour. In my opinion, I think that this has already started, but we haven't been explicitly told this yet in the narrative. Who started this? Nice Arnab Thunder. I believe that Nice Arnab Thunder is trying to undermine the authority of ES, whether by taking over as the new boss and absorbing it into Thunderbolt Entertainment, or he's going to destroy it completely. And the main way he'll do this is by weakening the bonds of ES's most influential units. Let's start with the Thunderbolt Challenge and those new dream units. This was the first step in his master plan, as I believe that the dream units are a way of separating unit members. Come to think of it, the members of the dream units are all ones from units who are pretty tight-knit. Let's summarise. Pika Pika includes Wataru, who is probably the person closest to Eiichi, who is basically the boss of ES. Mitsuru from Rabbids, who are all very loyal to each other. Hinata, half of 2-Wink, and Sora, who is basically the glue that holds Switch together. Tears includes Izumi, the closest person to Leo, June, half of Eve, which is half of Eden, which is Ibara's unit, who is also the vice president of Cosmic Productions, and Hero, the leader of Alkaloid and also the younger brother and therefore the weak point of the establishment's greatest threat, Rine Amagi. Moded includes Hiyori, the other half of Eve, and the closest person to Nagisa, the son of the Godfather and the leader of Cospro's most powerful unit, Chiaki, the former leader of Ryusetai, Mao, a member of Trickstar, the unit that is known for representing the power of friendship, and Leo, the former leader of Knights. I think that all of the members of these dream units were chosen specifically for these reasons. We're led to believe that they were assigned these units due to the number of points they received during the Thunderbolt Challenge, but how can we be so sure? I actually want to focus on Wataru and June specifically for this point. So, Wataru only joined the Thunderbolt Challenge on Eiichi's request, with Eiichi originally wanting Tori to go, but since he was too busy with Atlantis, Wataru went instead so that a member of Fine was in the competition. most likely to ensure that Eiichi had someone to investigate what was going on. To me, this definitely sounds as though Eiichi suspects that something is amiss, especially since he's the one who's into the whole monopoly thing, so he may see Thunderbolt Entertainment's presence in Japan as a threat to Ensemble Square. June's case is more damning for Mr. Nice. Nice explicitly told June that if he beat Hiyori in the Thunderbolt Challenge, he would give him a career overseas. I think this is fishy, because if these dream units do actually give their members overseas careers, then that would mean that only some of the members of ES's units get overseas careers. In Fine's case, for example, Wataru gets a lovely dose of overseas exposure and earns mad bank from his ever-growing career, whilst Eiichi, Tori and Yuzuru are left behind in the dirt. See where I'm going with this? By dangling this promise over their heads, Nice could be trying to cause a wedge in these closely knit units by placing one on a pedestal whilst the others are left behind. His promise to June specifically also makes him a little more suspicious, since he's trying to foster a rivalry between June and Hiyori, despite the fact that they're competing in different stages, with Hiyori in Gourmet and June in Gladiator. Everyone knows that June and Hiyori are really close as the two halves of Eve. Perhaps Mr. Nice is trying to weaken Eden by causing a rift in Eve's relationship, which will eventually end up affecting Adam. Eden is one of the big three units of ES as well, so if he wants to take down ES, I think it's only natural that he'd target one of these popular units. Members of Fine and Knights were also in the challenge, and each dream unit contains at least one of the members of the big three. Also, VS Princess had both Tsukasa and Leo competing in it, so was there an attempt at causing conflict between the two leaders of Knights? Some of the characters have expressed that they find the whole competition to be a little dodgy. Arashi even cites it as her main reason for refusing to take part. I agree with her. It sounds extremely dodgy. Eiichi even states that the whole arena was built in such a flashy way so that it could make a statement of showing off Thunderbolt Entertainment's power. That's got to be foreshadowing something. For my next example, I'm going to bring up Ibiki joining Akatsuki. I know, it's a very touchy subject. But what if it's touchy on purpose? What if Happy Elements didn't have Ibiki join Akatsuki just for the sake of it? What if they've been playing us all this time? This idea actually came from a Twitter mini-thread that I saw. I can't find it again for the life of me, so if you recognise this idea as being yours, then thank you. So, Akatsuki are also a very influential unit in ES. I believe that Nice is using Ibiki as an insider to infiltrate the inner circle of Ensemble Square. Let's think about it. So, in Submarine, Akatsuki went to Okinawa, and we got a taste of the animosity of the Okinawan idols towards ES. There's also the general context that Okinawan natives have been colonised by Japan, and this new monopoly of ES is basically repeating that. Guess which character is from Okinawa? That's right, Ibiki. So, Akatsuki is another unit known for their very close bond as a unit of three, and this was also why many people were livid when Ibiki joined. So, what if Ibiki is actually there to weaken the bonds between the other three members of Akatsuki? There was also a whole guilt-tripping thing going on, especially during the Project Sekai collab, where Ibiki expresses concern over people not accepting him as Akatsuki's newest addition. But what if Happy Elements wasn't doing this as a blatant way to guilt-trip people away from boycotting their game? What if they're manipulating us? What if the fans themselves have become part of the plot, rather than just spectators? This could actually just all be manufactured, as the fans of the game become the fans in the actual story. We could be the fans who are outraged at ES's change in direction, and our distrust and dread towards the franchise and what could happen next is what's happening in the actual story. The fans of ES's units may be doubting them due to the monopoly they hold, and Akatsuki fans in the story might also be reluctant to accept Ibiki. So, Nice has made Ibiki join Akatsuki to weaken both Akatsuki's bond with each other, but also the bond with their fans. And this is another step he is taking to weaken ES as a whole. He could also be taking advantage of Ibiki, since he's a teenager who wants to become an idol, but he is unsure of where he fits in. Therefore, Nice knew that Ibuki is unsure of his place in the industry, and immediately offered him a position of leadership as the leader of Special for Princess. Being unsure of himself, Ibuki refused, and this led Kaito to invite him to join Akatsuki after their collab. Nice might have calculated this all along, possibly manipulating Ibuki and Akatsuki into meeting and eventually joining each other in order to kickstart his evil plan. Ibuki is also stated to be the most competent out of all the new idol characters introduced for 4-piece, so using him would give Nice the best chance of success. Finally, let's go back to the megasphere. In the first look that we got of this new setting, it's very interesting to note that the megasphere is actually casting a shadow over Ensemble Square. If my GCSE in English language taught me anything, it's that this has to be some sort of insane foreshadowing. It probably represents that the megasphere alongside Thunderbolt Entertainment is now overshadowing ES, both literally and figuratively. I think it's very likely that Ensemble Square is about to flop massively in this story, and guess whose fault that's gonna be? The actual terms of the megasphere are really odd as well. The biggest one is that the idols have to stay there for an entire month, and no one told them until they got there. This is literally kidnapping. Enstars has had many kidnappings in its time, including the famous kidnapping of Makoto by Izumi, Tsukasa kidnapping Kahaku, Undead kidnapping Crazy Bee, and now we have Nice Arnab Thunder kidnapping the entire cast. Mental stuff. As previously mentioned, the idols now have no contact with the outside world except for when they do live streams, as they're so high up in the sky that regular mobile phone signals can't reach them. This is also just really odd, as let's not forget that some of the characters are still minors, so they can't contact parents. Although many Enstars parents are kinda bad anyway, so maybe that's not too bad. But also one of the more pressing things in terms of the lore is that Himeru can't keep in contact with the hospital to check in on Kaname, which might be on purpose. Maybe Kaname will wake up in the middle of the Megasphere arc and Himeru will have no way of going to see him. Think of the angst! Also, pets aren't allowed in the Megasphere, so we've lost our dog mascot Daikichi, as well as the absolute icon herself, Jan Dark. Why are pets not allowed? Because the Enstars pets are very special to their respective owners, so there's probably a plot there to reduce the morale of these characters. In addition, the units share a dorm now, which is definitely due to Nice's secret plan to break up ES's influential units. The previous Starmony dorm room assignments gave the characters a nice break from their unit mates, so that they didn't spend all their time attached by the hip to their units, which reduces tension. Now that the unit members are sharing dorms, we're most likely going to have heightened tensions as the members of ES's units start to get fed up with each other. Let's have a moment of silence for Midori, who now has to share a room with Chiaki. And again, we should also be thankful for Sora existing, because otherwise Natsume would have probably thrown Tsumugi off the Megasphere. We're also probably going to see something go down with 2-Wink, because I know that Yuta is not happy. So we might be about to see some serious tensions within these units, and that's going to make Nice's plans to destroy ES much easier. The Megasphere's Big Brother setting is also going to make this worse. So, if you don't know, Big Brother is a reality show where you get a group of people and make them live together in a house while they're completely isolated from the rest of the world. They're also constantly being recorded, which is how we get the content. So, in the Megasphere, all the communal areas are being recorded. This is going to be detrimental to the idols because it's obviously going to wear them down. Like, could you imagine having to share a bedroom with multiple people, and once you step out of that bedroom, everything you do is being broadcast to the entire world? That's crazy! The idols won't be able to catch a break, and it's definitely going to cause irritation. And what do people do when they're constantly being irritated? They snap. In the first arc of the Megasphere, we actually kind of see that this is starting to happen, with Subaru confronting Esu and warning him about how ruthless the industry is. This brings me to my next point. The idols are going to get cancelled. So, some of you might know this already, but the footage with Subaru and Esu has been edited to make Subaru look more hostile than he actually was. And this has led some of the other characters to wonder why Nice Arnab Thunder, the manager of the Megasphere, edited the conversation in that way. I know why. It's because he wanted to make Subaru look bad. I think that with these heightened tensions due to the conditions that the idols are being kept in, there are only going to be more similarly heated conversations like the one we saw between Subaru and Esu. And obviously these conversations are all being recorded, so Mr. Nice can edit this footage to make the ensemble stars look bad, damaging their reputations and causing their fans to see them in a different light. This will make it easier for Thunderbolt Entertainment to surpass ES, as people might start boycotting these apparently badly behaved idols and look to different ones instead. One that comes to mind is a unit called Melodiras, which is produced by Mr. Nice. I'm pretty sure that they're meant to be pretty successful, and recently the leader of the unit was chosen for a modelling job over Izumi. This idol unit came to Japan recently and has started snatching the jobs that would have been taken by ES idols. So we've already got some tension growing over that, but mark my words, it's going to get a lot worse. To conclude, Nice Arnab Thunder is going to weaken Ensemble Square through the megasphere by creating tension in Ensemble Square's most influential units, allowing him to take over whilst inter-unit relationships break down. That's it. Anyway, as usual, if this video was mediocre enough for you, then please remember to like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!